Hello, and welcome to the third attempt at tonight's Coffee Milk Hour. I am Jordan Burns, and I am joined here by
Jerry Nutini.
Welcome to the show. I say it's our third attempt because we have deleted two previous recordings of this show. Let me give you some clarification on that. We asked for feedback earlier today on Facebook from our page, the Coffee Milk Hour podcast. Check it out, like it, share it, subscribe. What topic we should do today, and some of our friends mentioned PC America, and since then, for the past 6 or 7 hours, we've been in a heated discussion.
I don't even know why we're talking about this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little fed up with it, to be honest with you, but I feel like we have good points that need to be brought across, and
maybe we have good points. Apparently, some topics are off limits.
Yes, they are, and they will remain off limits.
I think it's ironic that we're sitting here talking about PC America, but we can't talk about certain topics because some people might get offended.
You find it ironic, but I feel like it's the icing on the cake that defines why PC America is so bad.
Well, I'm seething, so let's do the show.
All right, let's do the show. Let's start by defining PC America.
Okay, so in our discussion, we've kind of discovered that PC America is a very broad and kind of vague topic that can cover anything from being personally offended by another individual due to differences of opinion, or it could be something like an institution, for instance, No Child Left Behind, which takes in politically correct, ideas and makes a system out of it to better the education of all.
Yeah, that's worked out real well.
Yeah. So we decided the best thing to do was to go to the dictionary and figure out what political correctness really is. So, from Merriam-Webster, political correctness is agreeing with the idea that people should be careful not to use language or behave in a way that could offend a particular group of people, or conforming to a belief that language and practices which could offend political sensibilities, i.e. Matters of sex or race, should be eliminated.
We're going to start, we want to focus on two main points here. We're going to focus on political correctness and the effects it has on American culture, our society as a whole, and then we're going to talk a little bit about politically correct words and how they hurt people's feelings.
Or how they don't hurt people's feelings.
Or how they shouldn't hurt people's feelings.
But that's neither here nor there. So, moving forward with this topic, how do you feel political correctness affects us as a society day to day and as a whole?
I feel like it makes us weaker. It's America has always had, in its very short history, in its very short lifespan, has had this not broadcast, this emulation of we are tough, thick-skinned, take nothing from nobody, hard-charging people. But now we are these thin-skinned, easily offended, easily defeated people. And what I mean by that is, growing up in Little League sports, this is just an example, we had winners, we had losers. We had championship trophies, and we had no trophies if you lost, period. In today's society, if you, Jerry, on your team, go undefeated through the entire season and win the championship, and me on my team lose the entire season, we go 0 and whatever, we both get the same trophy. Participants. Which is bullshit. Because now winning and losing is out the window, and it's just, well, you participated, so you still win. We're handing everything out on a platter, and it's creating this society of victims, in a way, this society of people who feel like everything should be handed to them, and that's wrong. Where's the competitiveness? Where's the drive to put in a hard effort and succeed?
When I played Little League sports, whether it was baseball or football or soccer, you were on a team. You were drafted.
Right.
And your purpose was to go out and win a championship. And then if you individually played well enough, you would make the all-star team. And then your all-star team would go play in a regional tournament. And if you won the regional, you went to the,
Yeah, you just went up and up and up. There was a reward for the effort.
With hoping to be, at least in Little League baseball, world champion.
Yeah.
So if I'm one of those kids and I make the all-star team, it's because I put in the practice, or I've got natural talent. And I feel like it's really, really important not to leave out this notion of natural talent. I think everyone has a natural talent.
Agreed.
Whether it's music or sports or writing or whatever it may be. If I'm a guitar player in a guitar class,
right,
there's 20 other guitarists, and I practice harder and I've got natural talent.
Sure.
I know I'm better than everybody else. But in a politically correct society, maybe my guitar teacher never says I'm better than everybody else.
Right. Maybe you don't get the recognition that one would say you deserve.
Right. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm practicing. I think I sound better than everybody else, but I'm doubting that at this point because my teacher's not really telling me that I'm doing the right thing because I'm being treated equally to all the other guitar players. It's not politically correct for my guitar teacher to tell me I'm really fucking good. I should maybe pursue this as a matter of study, go to college for it, maybe instead, we can't make those other kids feel bad. We can't let them know that other kid over there, he's really good at guitar. He's way better. Right. They're never going to be that good. We can't say that because we're going to hurt those little kids' feelings.
Right.
Poor
the
kids.
Fragile children.
For me, playing sports growing up, that adversity was what builds your character. So my first year in baseball, I didn't get a single hit. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I didn't have a single hit in baseball.
Because
I sat there and I was like, man, these kids can't hit the strike zone. These little other 8-year-olds. Fuck them. I'm going to sit here and wait for the walk. And it worked. I got on base. I didn't get a hit. I could not hit the ball. By the end of my time in Little League, I was an all-star.
Right.
Because when you don't hit the ball, you think, I like baseball. I want to hit the ball. And no one's sitting there telling me, oh, no, you never have to hit the ball.
Right, you're still going to score.
You're fine. We can still win the game if you don't hit the ball. That's not fucking true. If I don't hit the ball, we're not going to win the game. I want to be a champion. My teammates want to be champions. So I don't want to pretend like my lack of talent is okay. I'm not saying that those kids should quit. I'm saying that they should be challenged to get better. And if it's not their cup of tea, hey, maybe baseball's not for you. You make that decision when you're ready to make that decision. But if I'm told at 9 years old, no, you're okay. It's okay to be that way. I'm never going to challenge myself to be better.
Or try something that you could be great at. You could be the best classical guitarist in the world. But because nobody ever told you, hey, maybe you should try something else. Expand your horizons. Maybe baseball is not for you. You're trying out for the Red Sox or the Yankees throwing 15-mile-per-hour fastballs. When, unbeknownst to you, because you were babied through your entire life, you could be playing amazing licks on guitar. Amazing. You could be selling out shows. But you would never know that because we raised this society of it's wrong to say that you're bad at something. It's wrong. It is wrong in America right now to say, you're bad at this. You shouldn't do this. I was told when I was in 10th grade that my acting wasn't as good as another kid in my acting class. And it pissed me off to no level that he got all the main roles. It wasn't like there was always like, oh, we're going to have an audition, but there was no audition. This kid got the role every time. And it made me want to try harder because I wanted to beat him. I disciplined myself. I got better. I worked at it, and then I eventually got a lead role in one of the plays, and I was stoked. If someone just said, you know what, you're fine just the way you are, I never would have worked to improve myself because I would have been expecting that, you know? So you have these kids who are living in that circumstance where they aren't being told you should try something else, or they're not being disciplined into understanding if they're not good at something or not, because everybody's a winner, that the first time they hit an adversity in their life or an object in the road that they can't pass, they're just going to look at it dumbfounded like, I was expecting this to be handed to me.
So we both looked at an article by Nick Adams, and it did come out of Fox News, and I'm not a huge fan of Fox News. However, this article did have some points, and he said, politically correct ideology requires that success is resented. And I have to say, I absolutely agree.
Yes.
As someone who has managed people, I know that it is now taboo for me to go to an employee and say, you suck. You are a shitty fucking employee.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a douchey way to go about it, but I get what you're saying.
It's a douchey way to go about it, but what I need to consider in all these situations is, man, is he having a bad day? Is there something going on in his personal life, his or her personal life, that maybe I'm not considering? And I have to think of all these reasons why this person, who's really just a douchebag, they're really just lazy, they really just want to ride and get a paycheck. I need to be, quote-unquote, responsible and think of all the reasons why they might be struggling. And I'm not really allowed to talk to that person because that's an invasion of their personal privacy.
Right.
So I can't do that either. So I'm forced to sit there and just kind of cope with their lack of effort. Because I can't go tell them, I can't go call them out on, hey, you don't do half the work other people do. I don't see you demonstrate the effort. You're making as much money as a lot of these other people. Yeah. I expect more. Because that person can go run to HR in a lot of situations in America and say, I was just assaulted. I was just verbally harassed.
He invaded my safe space.
That person told me, my boss told me that I'm doing a shitty job and I do this, and this, and I take offense to this, blah, blah, blah. And really, where's the accountability?
And I mean, who's the hammer going to come down on?
On the boss.
Even if you say nothing to that person, the work is still suffering. If you've got an office full of 10 people who are all doing the same job and you've got one asshole sitting over there who knows that he's not good at the job but isn't going to get fired because you can't say shit to him, and he continues to do nothing, when the reports come in at the end of the month, you give them to your boss looks at you and says, why the fuck are we in the decline?
Don't get me wrong. I understand, and to an extent, I agree with a lot of what is politically correct in America. But as I thought about this earlier, I thought political correctness really aims to be the most tolerant of practices. It tries to make everybody feel included, while at the same time not making them feel bad. But that simultaneously makes it exist as the antithesis to tolerant. Hey, that person thinks differently. I don't like that.
Right.
I'm offended by that. So you want to include everybody and make them feel good, but by doing that, you're simultaneously excluding differing viewpoints, differing lifestyles, differing social approaches, just in normal conversation. I don't like to be talked to that way.
Right.
Well, go fuck yourself then. This is who I am. You need to accept that.
Right.
And then we'll talk about it. Responsible adults will talk about it. Maybe we can find a compromise in our tone. But too often it's like, oh, that's an attack. I'm going to go tell somebody. Like we're kids.
Right. And it, like, all right, I'm all for, I mean, we've talked about this before, so I won't get too far into it. Like, I'm all for equality. I'm all for equal rights for everybody. Black, white, gay, straight, doesn't matter.
What about women?
Yeah.
Women. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Women too, you know.
We're making progress.
We don't put me on the spot there. But in the world of political correctness, there's this website out there called Tumblr. I hate Tumblr. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. Personal opinion. However, as a straight white male, I cannot be on Tumblr because anything I say is going to offend somebody because I'm a straight white male. That's what political correctness is doing to this country. It's gone so overboard that if you're in the majority now, you're treated like you're an asshole before you even say anything.
So regardless of what kind of input you're giving to a conversation, just because of who you are, your input doesn't matter?
Right. Like, all right, if a bunch of people get together and are saying, well, I'm going to shave this husky, and I say, hey, you guys shouldn't shave that husky. That's not how their coat works. It's actually really dangerous to their health. They're going to look at me and say, you're being offensive right now. You're invading in our space. You're a straight white male. Whoa. Personal space. Where's my bubble? Respect this. You're being offensive. You're harassing us. And I'm just like, no, I'm just trying to look out for the welfare of the dog, but I'm just an asshole now.
Right. In the intro to one of my favorite TV shows of all time, The Newsroom, Jeff Daniels' character says, we used to aspire to intelligence, not belittle it.
Right.
And not to come back to No Child Left Behind, but as someone who, and I'm going to sound really pretentious right now, but as somebody who is maybe a little more intelligent than your average Joe, my whole life, I've felt retarded. And we'll get to that term later too. But
you just offended me.
But my whole life, I felt retarded because it's like, oh, you're smart, you're a nerd. Oh, why do you read so much? Why do you want to learn about all these things? Why don't you do this, and this? And it makes me feel like I'm an inferior person because I aspire to learn. I challenge myself to do better than anything. But there's this weird, like, why are you putting all this effort in attitude? And it's almost like people, because they don't want to put in the effort, are offended by my effort.
Right.
They're offended by it.
You're stepping ahead of them and making them look bad as a result. So you're now in the wrong.
Right, so it's like, I want the trophy. I'm going to go get the trophy. And all these people are like, well, we want the trophy, but we don't really feel like working for the trophy. But we don't feel right that you get the trophy. And it's like, go fuck yourself.
It's like a science project, man. When you're in high school and they make you get together for a science project, and there's 4 of you in a group, and one person does all the work, and the other 3 are at the end of the presentation, like taking the credit for it.
But if you complain to the teacher, they're going to be like, no, we all put in equal work.
Yeah,
no one's going
exactly.
to have your back.
Right, no, of course they won't.
Unless you're in a really good, like, 1950s TV show or something where everyone learns a lesson. But that's not going to happen here.
Also, before we transition here, I just want to point out, we called you a nerd because of your plethora of Lord of the Rings magazines.
And posters.
And posters.
I had a lot of posters. I still have my map right there.
I'm burning it.
Anyway, but before we switch gears here, I do want to talk about, do you think it's politically correct to have, say, religion, say the 10 Commandments posted in a public school? Do you think people should be offended by that? Or do you think that enhances, say, a child's exposure to different cultures? Do you need equal representation out in public spaces? Or is that stuff that should be kept in the home?
If we're talking about, like, I'm a little torn on this, because if we're talking about public schools, right, and you put up, you know, hey, this public school is going to put up the 10 Commandments on a slab right outside of their school front door. Well, you need to start putting other religious things. If you're going to do it for one, you have to do it for all. I'm a big believer in the separation of church and state entirely. And if a public school program is, you know, it's a federal program, it's a blanket program, except for like teachings across the country, it really shouldn't be there, in my opinion. Not because of political correctness, just because if I wanted my child to learn in an environment that was surrounded by religious aspects, I would send them to a private school that was, you know, taught under the umbrella of that religion. Like back home, there's Bishop Connolly. There used to be Fatima, which was like a religious school. They were private schools, and that's where I would send my kid. If I'm in a public school system, no, I don't think it should be there. Again, not because of political correctness, just because it's a public school. It's a broad landscape.
I'm like a lower middle class parent. I'm deeply devout. I can't afford to send my kid to a private Catholic school. I want them to get that education. I can't afford it. I send them to a school. The 10 Commandments happen to be like in the hallway, and some liberal douchebag comes along and is like, you need to take those down. I don't want my kids seeing the 10 Commandments. Should that parent be offended? No. Does that parent have a right to be offended that the 10 Commandments are posted in a hallway in the school? Do they have a right to be mad about it? Is it worth the time?
Do they have to be the right to be mad about it? No. The way that people, like the way we see it in the media where people react to this crap, no. That's just, you're just getting butthurt over something that, like, you want to get mad about something, and it's the first thing that caught your attention, so you're going to act it like someone just declared war on your front lawn. You know? Nobody's really that mad about this crap.
Like the Pledge of Allegiance, right? So my whole childhood, I said, right, you know, whatever, under God, you know.
Can you recite the Pledge of Allegiance right now?
Maybe if I'm not on the spot. Under God is in there right now. Now, I happen to, at the time, I did believe in God. I think I still believe in God, but I hadn't developed, you know, a thought process behind it really in first grade. The fact that it existed there didn't hurt me. It certainly isn't going to hurt an atheist. If they don't want to say it, they just don't say it. Isn't it just okay to accept it? Oh, hey, it's there. I'm not offended by it. I just won't say it. Isn't that truly what tolerance is?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what tolerance should be, but that's not what... There's always going to be somebody to argue the other point. To play devil's advocate here, you know, well, where's under Allah? Where's, you know, any other religious aspect? It's always Christianity. Where, you know, if my child's in a public school and he's hearing and seeing all these things about Christianity, is he going to be able to hear and see things about Islam? Is he going to be able to hear and see things about Judaism? To make an informed decision as opposed to just what's being subliminally put in front of his face.
Okay, so on the currency it says, "In God we trust."
Bullshit.
I'm a Catholic, right? Mm-hmm. So I have my idea of God. Well, couldn't God also be Allah? Couldn't God to an atheist just be, I'm dead at the end? I mean, can't you kind of make your own definition for what "In God we trust" means on the bill and just move on with it instead of like, why? I don't mind that people disagree. There's a difference between, hey, I'm not a huge fan of that, and I'm offended by that. Every time I see "In God we trust" on the dollar bill, I feel like I'm stabbed in the heart. I'm bleeding out on the floor right now because "In God we trust" is on the dollar bill and is a violation of my rights, and I think I'm gonna shoot everybody is what's going to happen unless the court changes it.
That's insane. That's insane to me. Like, you're not that offended by it.
But isn't that where we've escalated to?
Oh, absolutely. 100% that's where we've escalated to.
Where the fuck does that mindset come from? I'm sorry. I just don't understand it. Do you know?
I'll tell you, like it bugs me, again, because there needs to be a separation in church and state, and putting In God We Trust on your country's currency is clearly a hypocritical move in the essence of that. But it doesn't bother me. It doesn't offend me. It's not like every time I see it, I get tears welled up in my eyes and like have to apologize to my ancestors that I haven't fixed this by now. I don't understand where it comes from. I do know that it needs to stop.
So I get the sensitivity. I get that your kid sucks at baseball and you don't want him to feel bad. And as a parent, maybe dare I say it, maybe you are just too weak of a parent to tell your precious little child that he's not good at something. You're not willing to challenge your child. And maybe this is on parenting and you've got a thought, so just go for it.
I'm really glad you said what you said because I wanted to respond with that. What if parents are too concerned that they're going to hurt their child? What if parents aren't doing the right thing? Let me rephrase that. What if parents don't know how to say, you're bad at this, maybe you should try something else, without sounding like an asshole? What if they're so afraid that they're going to come off being like, look, Tommy, everybody who's really good at baseball, take a step forward. No, Tommy, take a step back. You suck.
On our next segment, do children rule their parents?
Absolutely.
But I mean, switching gears here because we're on a limited time frame, and maybe just to recap here. So I think we kind of agree that giving participation trophies metaphorically to everyone can kill natural talent, can also stop a child from moving on to something they might be better at.
Right.
And in general, political correctness kind of diminishes success or the ability to gain success. The next topic we kind of want to hit on here is just language in terms. And earlier, without even thinking about it, I said that's retarded. It's retarded. And you'd mentioned earlier that maybe using that term is kind of a Northeastern type thing. And,
right.
And I'm not sure, but
we'll get to that.
When I say retarded, that's retarded. I mean, that's stupid.
It's dumb. It's annoying.
And I could say that's stupid, but stupid is a really stupid word. Honestly, like that, you learn stupid when you're 2 or 3 years old. That's dumb. That's stupid. But I learned retarded when I was like maybe 12.
And it allows you to put an emphasis on a situation. If I come up to you and I say like that's stupid, you're going to be like, all right, he's at this level of annoyance with this circumstance. But if I come up to you and I'm like, hey man, that's retarded, you're like, oh, all right, he's here. Now you're right. I've been everywhere. It's definitely a Northeastern thing. I've heard it almost nowhere else. So I get why so many people are like, why are they making fun of retarded people? We're not. It's just something we use in our common language every day. You have to remember these are the same people that we don't really pronounce our R's at all. You know,
that was difficult for you to say.
Yeah, it was difficult because I have to work to articulate my words. Otherwise, I'd be talking without pronouncing any of my A's, and then the next thing I would be going to park my car in Harvard Yard, which doesn't actually happen. That's illegal, by the way. But yeah, it's something that the Northeastern does. But it is a good way to talk about how certain words hurt people. And at this point in our country's life, they really shouldn't anymore.
So would you argue that people in this country are just being little bitches?
Oh, shit. I see what you did there. Yes, I would. And I don't mean that to be in an offensive way. I just mean, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's something that I grew up as a kid.
I think that's something that everybody grew up with, and I think if you watch any children's movie, you came away with that.
Right. You were like, oh, wow, they're just words. They shouldn't get under my skin. But we live in an age where words are hurtful, and telling you that your words are hurting me is going to make you stop.
Well, but as someone who's a writer and is an English major, I understand that words can have an impact.
Yes.
Okay? But as someone who understands language is something that's always in flux. And as much as I hate like new terms like on fleek, I don't even know what that means. I really don't. But like there's
I thought Bay was a new exotic bee at one point.
Bay isn't Kenneth Bay, the guy from The Hostage?
That's who I thought they were talking about. I thought he just got really famous, but I guess we're wrong.
Anyway, but like language is evolving, right?
Yes.
So when I say everybody's being little bitches, there is a proponent out there that's going to say that is derogatory toward women.
Right.
That is a phrase that you're referencing, and you're saying that these people are all acting like women and they're being emotional or whatever. That's not what that word means anymore.
Exactly.
So you can go back to the origin of that word, but you also, as a human being in society, I think have a responsibility to say, hey, I know what the original meaning of that word was, but I also understand that socially they just mean that person's kind of being a pussy. Which is...
You're being... So, like... It's just another way of emphasizing what you're trying to get across. They're accentuating words. When I call you a bitch, I'm not using it in the raw definition of the word.
And you're
I'm
not
saying,
thinking about that definition.
Right. It's not even crossing my mind to relate that word to a woman. I'm looking at you, a man, calling you a bitch.
And you relate my face with a bitch.
Right.
I am the bitch.
Because in that moment, maybe it's a moment where you're being really annoying, really aggravating. You know, it's just an insult. It's a jab word at this point. It doesn't even need a definition anymore. All it needs to be is bitch, noun, something you say to piss somebody off.
So, right, and that's how it's existed in my life.
Yeah.
Since I was really small.
Right.
You know, and we've got a couple of other choice words here. But I think the same applies to all of them. I think you have to be a special kind of stupid to not realize that the meaning of words morph. So you can go look it up in the dictionary, and you can come at me with your feminist stuff about the word bitch.
Careful.
However, I'm a feminist. I'm for equal rights of women.
I'm just saying, I have a safe space here, and you're coming very close to crossing that line.
I'm so sorry to make you feel uncomfortable, but these words evolve.
Yes.
Okay, some of it's just trash talk. Some of it is just in good fun. When I hear a group of people using words, these like gay, bitch, retarded, whatever, I should just understand that's their group. That's the lingo they use.
Right.
I understand that they're not using it in a way that's saying, I'm homophobic. I think women are inferior. If you walk by a group of kids and you think that they're thinking on that level, you're giving way too much credit to the intelligence, I feel, of most youth. They're using these words at surface level, and that's okay. That's okay because it helps with the mastery of language overall. So, should we limit these words? I have written here that putting some choice words on a pedestal and not allowing them to escape or transcend their original meaning is actually more detrimental to like the growth of society. It's like you want to freeze frame everything and say, nope, that's it. All the words mean this. They're never going to change again. That's it. And
right.
It's like you can't do that.
Words have to adapt based on the scenario. Words are being added to the dictionary that I don't even know how to pronounce.
Like shizzle. I know that one.
Congratulations.
I don't know if I know what it means. I know that you say faux shizzle.
Yeah.
And then...
Stop. Just stop before you hurt yourself. These words are being added to the dictionary. I don't understand the meaning of them. They could be like the worst insults on the planet in today's generation. I don't get it. But if I turn around and I call someone a bitch, and they take it the wrong way, it's the end of the world.
But they should take it the wrong way because you're calling them a bitch. Male, female, whatever.
They should take
you're
it the
upset
wrong
with
way
them.
because I'm insulting them using a word. They shouldn't stop and be like, he called me a bitch. He's equating it to this, and its original antiqued definition.
I think we should really just think about, like, I call you a fuckface all the time, but what does fuckface really mean?
Yeah, whenever you present a stupid scenario to me, I usually say that it's fucking dumb bullshit sauce. What does that mean?
It means I can put it on my eggs.
That's gross.
I don't know.
Bullshit sauce?
Now, I will say, and I have to wrap up here, there's one particular choice word that does not have an altered meaning.
Don't do it.
And we're not going to talk about it. It's off topic. It's not off topic, it's off limits. I wanted to talk about it, but, however, we are in agreement that this particular choice word is only derogatory. It does not have any altered social meaning.
Right, it has not been evolved.
It has not been evolved. It still holds its original meaning, and for that reason, we do not feel like this particular word falls into the same category as retards.
Right.
And
well,
bitch.
retarded.
Retarded.
Because retards is, I mean, that's an actual thing.
Well, I mean, if I walk in a room and a bunch of guys are like circle jerking or something, I said, "What are you retards doing?" That's okay, right?
That's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
I don't know who you're hanging out with, but I don't want to hang out with them.
Well, I just...
Fantastic. We have to end the show here. My final thoughts is this: there's a large difference between being politically correct and not intentionally trying to hurt somebody. If I use a word in my group of friends in a conversation while we're walking down the street, and you stop to tell me that you're offended by my choice of words, you are immediately an unintelligent asshole in my eyes. And I have no bearing over what you have to say. Maybe that's closed-minded. I don't care. It's just, you need to stop being offended by everything. Please. And show some thick skin.
And my closing thought would be, I don't know that being politically correct or not is really the problem. I would almost argue that being tolerant, like truly tolerant, is the problem. People aren't tolerant anymore. They feel like they have a right to walk up to you and your personal group of friends when they're not involved and tell you how to live their life. They're not being tolerant of other lifestyles, of other religions, of other beliefs. They're stereotyping. And I really do feel like we've lost, as Americans, our ability to not only be tolerant of people, but to empathize with other people and just kind of understand, hey, not everybody's like me. So on that note, this has been the Coffee Milk Half Hour. And we'll be coming to you Wednesday with a new episode. So this is Jerry Nutini.
This is Puffy.
Out.